This video will be a quick introduction to label builder basics. We'll take the label we see here, which comes from this form, and we're going to create it in the QRlogix Software label builder. So to proceed, click on the Customize Template button at the top of the screen. Then in Form Builder, you'll see the Label Builder button on the right. Form Builder is where we can add form fields, connect data sources, things like that. But we're going to jump into Label Builder and see how this works. So here's the Label Builder interface. A couple of housekeeping things. First thing I want to do is increase the label so that it's a nice working size. I could do it with my mouse as I just did, or I could use these buttons at the top of the screen. Additionally, it's good to set your font now so you don't have to go back and edit it. That way everything will fall in with that particular font. I'm going to stick with my Arial rounded, and I'm going to increase the font size to say 20. Now, if you notice on the left side of the screen, the Add Template field tab is active, and we can see the different template fields that we saw on the template form on that print page. So we could drop them on the label by clicking there, and then going back to the Add Template page and clicking on the next one, and so on. And this is a good way to get everything onto the label. If you wanted copies, or if you want to have a counter and you want to number your labels, that would be, in this case, copies. And if you wanted a date, the current date, you could click this. And then when you click on it and activate it, you're going to be in the selection properties area. You want to go to format, and you want to change it to the date format that suits you. So that's how we drop the different elements on the label. Now we need to format it to look correct. So let's reference our image and see what we need to do. So the top line, we need to add some static text, and then behind it we want this data to fall. That's the asset ID data. And then below that we've got hammer, we've got warehouse, I believe that's the asset, and then that's the department, and of course we've got a QR code and then the name of the facility. What we don't have is this date, nor do we have the counter. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those two. And then instead of just dropping static text, I'll show you how to do it, but instead of doing that, we want to concatenate this data, concatenate it. The concatenate feature is really important when you're label building. You want to use that tool. It will make your labels much more clean. You'll avoid writing over other data, all kinds of problems if you just drop the data on the label randomly. So let's delete these two items, and then we'll concatenate that top line. So a couple ways to do it. I could just highlight it active like that and hit delete, or I can come off to the right and delete it here. I'm going to do the same with the counter. And now we want to take a look at the top line. So I mentioned the concatenate function. I'm going to run through these real quick. The first one is static text. So if you wanted static text on the label, you could do that. We're going to get rid of that. The next one is the concatenate feature. We're going to use that in just a moment. Next to that is how we add a barcode. You've got your different options there, size, and then you build it. We'll get to that in just a moment. Next to that is how you would add an image. So if you had an image file you wanted to go on the label, you could do that. And in this case, you definitely want to shrink it to be a lot smaller, but we're going to get rid of that. Next to that, you've got the RFID functionality. We're going to avoid that in this video. There's separate videos that go into depth about RFID encoding on the labels. Next to that, you've got the ability to add lines, rectangles and squares, circles, a really cool nutrition panel in the event you need to add that for a number of different purposes, from food services to cannabis labeling. And then next to that, we've got a tool, a widget for adding warning labels. So those are the main features. Of course, font size, bold, italics, underline. We saw the zoom in, zoom out. And then these are how we kind of line data up. For example, if I hold down my shift key and I select these and then I go like that, they're going to line up to the left together. Or I could distribute them equally by doing something like this. Again, holding down the shift key, highlighting them all, and then this feature will separate them evenly. So some really cool tools up here I encourage you to play around with. But for now, I'm going to jump back to the concatenate feature, which we see here. So when you click on that, you have the ability to select form fields. You also have the ability to input text. So in this case, I'm going to type in ID for asset ID, then I'm going to put a colon, and then I'm going to put a space. Then I click Add, and I'll see the sample data down here that I just input. And what I can do now is click Asset ID, and it drops it on there as well. And I could continue this on with different data, you name it, adding different elements until I create the concatenate. But for now, that's what we need. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. And here is that concatenated element as opposed to just dropping it on the label. So let's reference our template here to see what we're recreating. Top line looks good. Then we're going to get into our hammer warehouse. Then we'll do static text and then the barcode. So these two elements I'm going to put somewhere near the middle of the label. I'm going to line them up evenly. Again, I hold down the shift key, do my left, and then I'm going to go back to static text up in the very top left corner. And what was the name of our facility? Acme Manufacturing. Here in static text, I'm going to type in Acme Manufacturing. And there it is, except it doesn't fit. So let's go up to our font, and I'm going to change that 20 to, say, a 12. That looks a lot better, so I'm going to center it. If there was other data that was dynamic and changed shape, I could expand these, and then I could say center, and you'll see there it's nice and centered, which we'll stick with. I'm also going to italicize it just for fun. And let's now go to our barcode, which we see here, add barcode. And I'm going to change from data matrix to QR code. And I'm going to put in the barcode asset ID and then a semicolon. So I type that in, click add. Notice we've got asset ID, semicolon, and then I'm going to put in description. And so that, if I printed a barcode, scanned it, that's what would be on it. So I'm going to hit save now, and I'm going to move this over here. That barcode is a little bit larger than I think I'd like to have. So what I can do is I can come over here to size, and I can take that 48 and say, let's try a 40. And then change it to a 40. And to me, that looks pretty good. Shouldn't be any issues scanning it. I'm going to just kind of sync these up a little bit better. And then I think I'm going to enlarge that. So I'm going to go to, say, a 26. And just to make sure it's in line with the one we centered at the bottom, I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to select center. Maybe just a hair to the left. All right, so I think we're looking pretty good. Let's reference our template here and see how we look. The barcode might be a little bit smaller, but I think we're in good shape here. To me, everything looks good. So what I'm going to do at this point is save the label and then save again. And now here on our print form, we're going to review the label and see what we think. Everything seems to look good to me, and I'm pleased with what we've done. Thanks for watching our Label Builder Basics tutorial.